Hey guys, Runway, one of the leading artificial intelligence tools for creating videos, has launched two very advanced tools, one focused on images and the other on videos, which we will illustrate in today's video. We're going to show what the tool does, some tests, and for that, I brought in the channel, Teoricamente Media, a great channel that I've been subscribed to for a while. Check it out. The channel is in English, and it's definitely worth it. They post some videos weekly, so go ahead and subscribe to the channel. I use Runway. Here is my paid account. I also use Hyper to create and animate videos for images. I use Flux here, for example. I use Leonardo AI. I use Ideogram. You can see that it's a lot of work. After all, here of my 10 YouTube channels. Of those 10, 7 going to the 8th monetized. We make around 5 to 7 videos per day. So we use these tools and many others that we cover here on the channel. Before we start, let me know in the comments below. Do you already use any AI for creating images and videos? Comment down below because I want to know. Let's go straight to my computer screen. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
X21, are you going for an interview? First, ads. Runway revealed 2 new features, one being expand video and the other being its own image model, both of which are very important.
So let's get started right away. Two features. One is focused on providing another video creation tool, which is the main focus of Runway. But a big cherry on top is the image creation feature within Runway. Because as you saw at the beginning of the video, I use Leonardo AI, I use Flux, I use Mini Journey, I use Ideogram to create images and then take them to Runway to animate them. Now, Runway is going to have image creation. Can you imagine potential of this? It would be the same as Midjourney, which is the top for images along with Flux, creating a Midjourney video or a Flux video. So if Runway maintains the quality it has for videos, when it comes to images, it's going to be amazing. Let's keep going.
Let's take a look at Expand first.
So let's start the video feature called Expand Video.
Basically, the Expand feature will take any 9:16 video and transform it into a 16.9 video, or vice versa. It will take any 16.9 video and turn it into a 9:16 video.
Well, what have you noticed here? Basically, it's going to create video from scratch where there isn't any. So if you're in a 9:16 format, which is what Instagram stories and Reels use, YouTube Shorts use, TikTok uses, and you have a video that you originally recorded like this, recorded here on your phone, and you want to transform it to 16.9 for YouTube, then it will create video on the sides where there isn't any. The same goes if I have a 16.9 video from YouTube and I want a video like this. It will create video up and down where there isn't any. Isn't that incredible? Next, it will fill in the missing areas of the frame through in-painting.
The No is something like Adobe's GenFill, except for video. So let's start with what I'm going to call easy mode, just by providing Gen 3 with some stock videos. Let's see how it handles that. We're going to get really weird with this later.
We've seen this some time ago. We already brought it here to the channel regarding images. Even Canva itself uses this technology to expand. Of course, Photoshop and so on. Now with the video, I hadn't seen it working so well yet.
To get started, just scroll down to Expand Video here and drag a video file. So we have some stock footage of a couple dressed in white walking through some murky and dirty water. Anyway, let's throw this into Gen 3's Expand and see what it does without a prompt.
Ha ha ha! Look at that. He just threw the video in there and hit the expand button without making any settings.
And there it is. Not bad, to be honest. There's a bit, I would say, of a certain inconsistency in the water. I think between what would be frame 9 2016 here and the generated part next to it. But I mean, this is really quite detailed.
Here he's doing his job just like I'm doing mine, which is to look at things like this in detail under a magnifying glass. But send this to a client, for example. If you don't say that you used it, you don't need to say it. Basically, he won't notice. People who aren't in the field, who aren't in the bubble, who aren't specialists, don't notice.
And the best part, of course, is the fact that we're not having any weird morphing or anything like that with our couple walking through the water. Because, you know, obviously this is just video. The time to generate this, by the way, was 36 seconds.
Look, 36 seconds is really fast. Of course, it's a short video.
That's something I don't know. It still surprises me. I can't emphasize that enough. Gen 3 Alpha is fast. Another stock video that I think Gen 3 should handle really well. This is a video of a woman clearly showing that she has no allergies.
Look, this is much harder here because that's water, right? So you just added more water. Now let's look at the issue of generating hours, for example, right?
And it really handled that flawlessly. I mean,
look at this wonderful thing. Look at this wonderful thing. If you look here at the arrow of my mouse, wow, all of this here. Oh, all of this here and all of this here was generated out of nowhere. Of course, context, right?
Maybe I went a bit overboard in the flower department, but I think, the Runway model has a talent for plants. What I find really fascinating is that it gives a slight lens distortion on the sides, really mimicking that wide-angle look and helping to bring everything together. We can also take a 16:9 video and turn it into a vertical video without having to crop it. This is really a great achievement. So, what was our final result with this guy? And yes, it does. Really good job.
Look at this amazing thing because it was zoomed in here, right, on his face. And if you cropped it like this, it would just be like here, right? It would only show his head and a part here, part of his shoulder, let's say. And then he managed to pull back and create video both sideways and downwards, right? Indeed.
So this was our final result. This guy, and yes, does a really good job. Now, in the original video, he's wearing a short sleeve sweater. I don't know, but since I'm not familiar with the footage, it actually seems quite accurate. Now, the real fun, and this is where things probably get a little weird, is when you really combine these two ideas with the text shadows.
So for example, look at what he's saying. So far, we've done the tests automatically, right? So we put the video there and pressed, oh, I want a 16:9 to turn into a 9:16. I want a 9:16 to turn into a 16:9. Now, what happens when I add text prompts to give commands to get closer to what I really want the artificial intelligence to do? Let's go.
With this stock footage and bringing it to make 9.16 of O, got this, where admittedly there's like a strange comet missile coming down from the sky here. That's actually my fault. I left the text prompt UFO flying in the sky. We didn't get the UFO, but it actually gave me an idea.
So what happened is he set it up to have this effect. You could, let's say, be part of a scene, like this one here, for example, right? And then I set it here, it's 16:9. I set it to 9:16. And then I could put something like New Year's Eve, where there are going to be fireworks in the sky, right? Those fireworks. I could put here, for example, I could say in the prompt that it's late afternoon. And then you have the sunset, for example, or it's very early. I could say sunrise. And then you would have that orange glow of the sun, for example. Or I could say, since there are clouds here and it's raining, let's suppose. And then it will not only improve, but also change the framing and create video where there isn't any. Plus, you can also modify the video.
This piece of stock footage, bringing it to a 9.16 format, we got this, or admittedly, there's like a strange comet missile coming down from the sky here. That's actually my fault. I left the text prompt UFO flying in the sky. We didn't get the UFO, but it actually gave me an idea. We made the video 16.9, added destroyed city in the background, and got this scene. Runaway allows camera control with zooms and angles. They might have zoomed out or used a wide angle. Fire was added, creating an impressive city.
Look interesting this person showed up. I don't know if they're original since Runaway lets you specify the camera in the prompt and set zoom in, zoom out 360 degrees to control the camera. Not sure if they pulled the camera back, maybe a zoom out or so, maybe a super wide angle like that. Look, they added fire, made the city, it looks impressive. Now, there is the guy in the cute blue jacket, and then I don't know if he moved the camera away. He must have zoomed out something like that. A super wide angle, something along those lines. But also look, he set fire, created the city here, so it was impressive.
Now, he ended up with the guy in the cute blue jacket. He was actually in the 9/2016 version too. There was just a hint of a jacket. I think it just kept adding the rest of him.
So he added a jacket here in the video. At the beginning you can see it. Look, it would be like you put in the prompt that there's a person filming in the background, right? And then it's the camera angle, right? So it's the person filming here, but he just mentioned that it's, I don't know, someone in a blue jacket. And then in the final video here, he was created by artificial intelligence.
We ended up with the guy in the cute blue jacket. He was actually in the 9.216 version too. There was only a hint of a jacket, so I guess he just kept adding the rest of it. Now, I wasn't excited about this guy, but in an earlier version, I ended up liking him or not caring so much about him. So In a case like this, you could always end up just doing a quick mask. So have our guy here and the rest of our another scene here, and it works really well. Now, it's always perfect. I think we see it through our guy in the blue jacket. No, definitely not. And I think even more so when you're working with images that you filmed or in a place, for example, as a test, just quickly grabbing my phone and, filming myself saying this. So just trying this standard vertical video here. Let's see what happens when we run it through Gen 3. And then going through the expand of Gen 3, we ended up with a result like this.
So just trying this, look how interesting this is. This part here and this part here doesn't exist, right? This frame doesn't exist. These commands turned out pretty strange here on the little brick too. I thought it didn't look very realistic, but the bricks turned out perfect. They turned out perfect. Maybe here we can use another AI to replace it, or we could generate it again and the AI will somehow generate it differently. You can even specify in the prompt what you want on the table, but here the background part turned out perfect. The standard vertical video here.
Let's see what happens when we run it through Gen 3. Now, I admit I find this super hilarious. I definitely need a last minute pot, whatever that is. And also, whatever this is, it looks like it's definitely made in Italy. I need to have this mounted on the wall to turn my house into an amplifier.
I want you guys to comment down below what you think of this technology so far, these tests, and what you would do with it, because I'm already thinking here. I focus a lot on YouTube, but now with this technology, I could easily create videos, both shorts for YouTube and reels, and stories for Instagram, and also for TikTok using this technology, just adapting it to this 9x16 format. So diving into the weird, and don't worry, we'll get back to something that I think is a really cool use case in a moment, taking a cue from one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone, just enough time at the end, just adapting it to this 9:16 format.
So, diving into the weird, and don't worry, we'll get back to something that I think is a really cool use case in a moment, taking cue from one of my favorite episodes of The Twilight Zone, just enough time at the end. If you haven't seen the episode, I'm sure you've at least seen it referenced culturally, and it stars Burgess Meredith as a kind of grumpy book lover who hates being interrupted while he reads. The apocalypse happens, he's the only survivor, and now he has all the books in the world and no one to bother him except breaks his glasses at the end. And by running this through Expand, we ended up with this piece of, I don't know, a kind of surreal video that mixes Twilight Zone with Salvador Dali. Pretty amazing. Being honest, with a kind of fake Rod Serling back here giving his closing narrative, that's what we were looking for. Not exactly, but it's pretty amazing.
Playing around with it a bit more, we ended up with this version too, which I found kind of fascinating because it gave a different color gradation. And honestly, I don't know if he included in the prompt to have this color change. You could also create the video and take it to another editing program and just apply a filter to tweak the colors. But it turned out impressive. It made everything clearer. Actually, I haven't seen any other generation do that.
It made everything clearer. Actually, I haven't seen any other generation do that. And then, even more curious, is when I took that vertical video and ran it as a 16:9. We ended up with this, which is very close to the original shot, but it gave me with 4.3 pillars, which I found quite fascinating. Now, I'm just speculating here, but my theory is that the Runway model identified this as an old TV show and therefore decided to give me the output in 4.3. The reason why...
4.3, folks, for those under 30, I'm almost 40. I remember that TV, right? So basically that format before those LED TVs and everything else was that 4.3 tube TV. That's what he's talking about. So in the case of the prompt, he could have specified 4.3. No, what did he do? He specified like that it's an old series. And then the artificial intelligence interpreted that as being old. So it's 4.3.
That one from The Shining, which is also in the 4.3 era. Now he put it in 16:9. It's that fantastic movie with Jack Nicholson, right?
In the 4.3 era. We put it in 69. It's that fantastic movie with Jack Nicholson, right?
And then I brought this to Vermeluli to see the Vermeluli Terra, or expands, from Gen 3's. The result we got is quite notable. Yes, kind of covers everything up to here. So yeah, at this point, all work and no play makes Jack Control Alt Delete. So yeah, at this point, all work and no play makes Jack Control. But given what we know about how world models work, I think that when Gen 3 initially saw the original footage of The Shining, it inferred somewhere in there, yes, this is probably a hotel lobby. And what's in hotel lobbies? Well, cheap computers tend to be in hotel lobbies.
Look how interesting. Up here there's the computer and down here there isn't, right? It's okay, I think this type of computer didn't exist back then, right? Anyway, look at that impressive thing. Why is that? Because he stretched it, right? He created a video where there wasn't one, right? So it's impressive. What's interesting for the audiovisual market, for example, is bringing old movies back for us to watch on bigger screens without losing quality, filling in this space here that didn't exist back then.
Now, there are definitely a lot of fun and interesting ideas we can play with using Expand, like what Blaine Brown did here with a scene from The Lord of the Rings. Obviously, the yellow bars represent the actual scene, and then the top and bottom are vertical extension.
Look how interesting. If you wanted to make a video for Instagram, if you used this here, which is the original video, it wouldn't look good on Instagram because it would stretch and zoom in here. You wouldn't even be able to see. You can only see the head and of the mammoth here, and now you can't, right? These mountains created this. Part of the land created all of this with the push of a button, just a push of a button, so it's impressive. Look, you would only get this part of Legolas, and it would be really zoomed in, still losing a lot of quality. Now here you don't need to stretch, you don't need to zoom in, you don't lose quality, and you still have more content. Look at this part of the leg here that we hadn't seen. Generated this out of nowhere. And it didn't generate 3 legs, it didn't generate, here you can't tell if generated 6 fingers, right? But it's impressive. You can create a lot of content, both from YouTube to Instagram and TikTok, and from Instagram and TikTok to YouTube. What do you all think? Comment down below.
The yellow bars represent the actual scene, and then the top and bottom are vertical extensions. The shot goes horizontal, and the vertical expansion in this meme gives us, well, finally the answer to how that fire started. Tim, apparently she was playing with candles, and Daniel Skull is apparently as big a fan of The Shining as I am, giving us extended version of the Here's Johnny scene from The Shining. And yes, you might be wondering why there's a bidet mounted on the wall. I mean, I don't know how ghosts go to the bathroom. They can float. All of this made me think about how far we could take the idea of expansion. So I decided to use one of my favorite movies, an ultra widescreen. Once upon a time in the West. I know that the good, the bad, and the ugly get love, but Once Upon a Time in the West is amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, add it to your list. This movie was shot in 235. So, even in 16:9, we'll end up with black bars at the top and bottom. Actually, this works in our favor here. And while my initial thought was, the truth is to expand this.
Look, this is what you would do, what most people do, without artificial intelligence, which is what I was commenting on at the moment of The Lord of the Rings. So you have to zoom in, you lose quality, and it's like you can't see anything on the sides. Now let's see what he did by generating the QIA.
Reconfigure. What I really found out was that keeping it as it is actually way cooler, because when we go through Expand with pillar boxing, we get something ultra widescreen. Looks like we're one horse short. You brought way too many. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So, this always work? I mean, not always, of course, it's AI video, but you can get some pretty impressive results from it. For example, taking, one of the most iconic shots in modern cinema.
Oh, Batman The Dark Knight. Wow. Joker, amazing.
The opening, The Dark Knight. We ended up with this, which is quite remarkable.
Look at this here. Guys, he stretched and he created more content and people are doing really well. One of the most iconic shots in modern cinema, the opening of The Dark Knight, we ended up with this, which is quite remarkable when you think about it, considering that the model is essentially generating parts of the city for which it has no information and is more or less keeping a consistent look overall. Exactly, it's following the style of the city and adding moving things, because one thing is like, oh, I'm going to put one more building there. I'm going to add one more trash can there. But now you're adding like people walking who weren't walking before because they didn't even appear, right? So they didn't exist. Cars passing by that weren't in the original shot is impressive, following the style. Like it won't show, for example, I don't know, a shot from the 90s, let's say. Not in the case of the movie, but let's suppose from the 90s and then a Tesla passes by, let's say. That's not what's happening. Everything that's added follows the style of the image overall. Now, again, does this always work?
No, it doesn't work. Cut scenes from that sequence of The Dark Knight ignored the pillar boxing. I don't know what's going on with him. That guy is definitely an amazing Batman villain. Kill Bill, check it out. And some weirdness when I was trying to extend that sequence from Kill Bill where the Gen 3 model just decided to put 2 side boxes on 2 separate characters. Yeah. Pretty funny. Now, interesting thing you can
Of course, folks, it won't be 100% at first. Nothing is 100%. What you have to do is generate again, improve the text prompt until you get the result. By the way, on my cinema channel here, which I show from time to time on YouTube, this is the channel where we just launched the video for Resident Evil. In 17 hours, it already got 3,000 views. Look at that. To make a 5-minute and 23-second video with this kind of quality, let me grab the actor with this quality here. Wow. It takes 3 days to make a video and to get this out. Wow. Several generations. But it's something that, well, I've already shown here on the channel. It's one of my channels out of the 10 that generates around $300 to $2,000 a month.
What you can do, minimize this, is that within the Jam 3 expansion, you can actually provide a first reference frame. So I took a screenshot of the first frame and brought it into Photoshop's GenFill, adding extra details for a 16:9 image. And then we provide Gen 3 with this first frame. We just come here and click to add the first frame. And interestingly, it doesn't seem to conform in terms of raster size. I could probably play around a bit more with the calculations, but I mean, it seems to work well as it is, because if you click on Generate Now, it seems to infer enough to capture the overall idea. Now, there's a problem with that aspect ratio in that scene. This is amazing with the frame breakdown. And then, for the last scene, we actually ended up with a full extension, even though, we didn't have any reference material for this. So, it's pretty interesting. Hot on the heels of Video Expand are the frames from Runway and their new image generator. And this is how completely their image generator works.
Here we're talking about image generation, which is a completely new market for Runway, whose focus has been on video generation. What does he want? He wants us to subscribe to Runway and use it for both videos and images without having to go out, and use other tools like Midjourney, Flux, or Leonardo.
So this isn't Flux or anything else connected. Runway has built its own image model and it's being launched right now. Actually, I don't have access to it yet, considering I'm making this video on the day it's released, but they claim that the frames will allow you to accurately project the look, feel, and atmosphere of any world you want to create.
What I'm noticing here is that these are very focused images for cinematic style. I also saw here, of course, animations, Disney Pixar style and all that. It's just that it's very... Look at this frame here. It's very cinematic. It looks like you took this frame from a movie, right or wrong.
They provide some examples, including photorealistic portraits, which, yes, look really, really good. Album art from the 1970s, which shows that...
Wow, it looks like TV Colosso. Who was there?
There's definitely some imagination going on. A somewhat random orcish guy, characteristic, so we can get fantasy vibes and also looks from old cameras.
That's really cool, old camera style. And that other character that just showed up looks like it was taken from that AIM Warcraft, right?
These things look great. It'll be interesting to see how their image generation interacts with the Gen 3 video model as well. Will it essentially be optimized for Gen 3? I don't know. Let's find out, I think. As soon as I have access to it, I'll definitely test it out.
For sure, it's like drawing a parallel with Apple. Apple makes the product, the hardware, and they also create the software, the program, so they have control over everything. So obviously, Runway is going to control everything, both image generation and video generation. So it's the complete process.
So much for that. I mean, I'm just excited that there's another image model out there, kind of living in an abundance of riches. So if you had the chance to play around with the new image model, please let me know in the comments.
Great. Same thing, same request if you already have access. The image generator that I still don't have from Runway, comment down below because I want to know, did you like these features? Did you find it interesting? And just to remind you of the initial question, do you use any AI tools to generate images or video? Comment down below and remember to give that like on the video, and it's today, right? Now there's something new, right? Give it a like and then share this video so YouTube shows to more people, okay? That's it. See you in the next class. See you later.